Remakes rarely improve the original, and since we almost never remake subpar films, the comparison to the, let's be honest, classic original will always be baked into the cake. It's almost nigh impossible, but here I am, coming to tell you, among the small list of remakes that outdo their predecessors, this is one of them. The Hills Have Eyes is one of the most intense, cynical tales of survival that respects Wes Craven's vision, yet expands in the right places and outdoes it in scope and execution. The 06 remake touches the third rail of horror more than anyone would have the balls to do today. It is almost an unintentional time capsule of society at the time. Listen, I love eras. I love the defining qualities of time and place. This microcosm of its time was probably the best for horror since the 1980s. I know. Since there isn't a ton of talk about it, and since I feel it's deserving of classic status, today I want to explore the new French extremity, interpretation of the American Southwest, and the evil within. So let's talk The Hills Have Eyes.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Craven's 1977 movie came after his big breakout success with The Last House on the Left, and it works within its shoestring budget. The grimy and raw feel was not a character itself, but a byproduct of circumstance. And maybe that's why Wes decided to pick up Hills for the remake treatment. Of course, remakes had picked up steam, so I'm sure that was a factor. But after seeing High Tension and its bleak, grounded style, Wes knew he had found his people. Even saying,
Annie, when I wake up, it's you.
Wes was wise enough to realize the remake train had momentum and best be involved. Though, let's be honest here, by 2010 it doesn't look like he had much say. Directed by Alexandre Aja and written by Aja and writer Gregory Levasseur, and that's honestly the best you're gonna get out of me for pronunciation, guys. I'm trying. Hills Have Eyes tells the story of a family driving across the New Mexico desert on their way to San Diego, accidentally finding themselves in the territory of mutant cannibals, whom they must fight to survive. Cast-wise, we got a meek son-in-law by the name of Doug, Aaron Stanford, daughter Brenda, the great Emily DeRaven, son Bobby, Dan Bird, eldest daughter Lynn, Vanessa Shaw, Lynn's baby, the matriarch Ethel, rock star that is Kathleen Quinlan, and the manliest of men, Big f***ing Bob, Sir Ted Levine. Not knighted, of course, but sure as shit should be. In terms of a general story, this doesn't stray very far from the original. Yet, what does it take for a remake to succeed on its own? Well, 3 things. 1, respect the original. 2, innovative interpretation. And 3, strong direction with a talented cast. I'm of the mindset that when tackling previous material, it's best to go as far into left field as you can. Be unique, be your own, because the original will win almost every time. Yet here, Aja and Levasseur take the risky approach by keeping it very close to the 1977 version. But by inviting comparison, you're backing yourself into a corner. But this is where Aja shines. The 06 version doesn't shy away from some of the harder stuff in the original. Still Kill a Dog, Brenda's rape. And as a bigger budget film, I'm glad this didn't water down the intensity that came from the 1977 version, but brought it into the new millennium with guts. Literally. The biggest change, story-wise, is the cannibals themselves. Aja and company were wise to update the reasonings and their origin. Instead of inbred desert hillbillies, we have these deformed mutants. Folks affected by the bomb testing, and they, like Godzilla, are the side effects we left behind, that have come back to bite society in the ass. It makes the villains that much more frightening. It makes a tough situation near impossible. The Hills Have Eyes works so well because it's taking a European feel, that being the nihilistic new French extremity from Aja, and having him, and of course Levasseur, filter and interpret it through the American Southwest. From Doug's feeble, almost satire-esque approach to guns and violence.
Leave Doug alone. He's a Democrat. He doesn't believe in guns.
To Big Bob being King Alpha. taking off his hat to pray. It's American, very much so, but ever so slightly exaggerated, upping the violence, much of which I can't show on YouTube, and giving it that unrelenting drive. Aja brings that French taboo-breaking punkness stateside. Everything becomes more stressful once the vehicle breaks down, and it goes from bad to worse to f***ed. Not to mention, Aja actually repeated a couple of his high-tension shots here. The sexual nature is very European, while the gore is grounded in brutal, sadistic realism. The mid-90s on started to soften on gore and violence. From Columbine to 9/11, we as a country were not really in the mood for a reality check. Yet, we went from Spider-Man flipping off of the American flag to Amanda digging out a key from a very alive cellmate real fast. While the French were going through their exploitation phase, we as a world came together and said,
fuck it.
I saw this in theaters, dude. I was there watching Lynn trying to save her child only to have her brains paint the wall. They kill a dog, Brenda gets and Lizard points a Taurus Model 66 in a baby's face. Again, nobody here is having a good time.
Alright, we're having a good time.
You know, the shutter speed changes, the ramp effects, the graphic gore. We as a country were angry and our horror represented that. Of course, you need a cast to handle it without fumbling. Emily DeRavin has the emotional intensity for Brenda, plus her revenge kill was absolutely needed and welcomed. Kathleen Quinlan, a legend, and gives one of the better death scenes in horror. This one I felt. Something about her needing to know everyone was safe and asking for the blanket as a, last sign of comfort.
You need anything?
Ted Levine could read the casting list and I'd be enthralled. While Aaron Stanford really goes the distance as Doug. Character-wise, if you didn't go in with the knowledge of the original movie, you would never think he'd end up as a lead. He waits until the last minute to finally defend himself, yet his arc is complete when he gets that sweet taste of revenge. And rightfully so, they killed his wife, took his kid. I cheered in theaters, I cheered at home when he finally took charge. And is there nothing more American than when Doug uses the flag as a weapon? I damn near put my hand over my heart. Ridiculous? Yes. And brimming with hope? It's amazing. Oh, and real quick, Tom and Andy deliver a great score here. When things get messy, they do this pulsating sound with fuzz, which is both sonically pleasant, yet deeply uncomfortable. Then, for example, when Doug finally mans up, we get this big bombastic score, signifying our hero's journey. One that involves shooting and stabbing your problems away. Any movie where the dog becomes a part of the action is okay by me, and I'm glad that Aja included that from the original. An intense and visceral ride, The Hills Have Eyes is a product of a different era. As much as I'd like to believe the moniker of Masters of Horror will continue on with different directors, I believe it'll more than likely become synonymous with the golden age of the genre. And that's fine. With Wes leaving us almost a decade ago, time waits for no one and reminds us, though creatives leave,
Not leaving, no. Moving on.
their work will stay with us forever. If it wasn't for Wes Craven, we wouldn't have Aja's interpretation. And so I bring it back to the master himself and all that he's done. I'm glad that in Wes's time, he got to see a proper remake of a film deeply personal to him. And for that, I say thank you, Aja, and Godspeed, Wes, wherever you are.
Seems like the world is moving on. Didn't stop to look around. Didn't give a shit if you're crashing down. You can close your eyes but not your skin. Don't believe what you refuse to see. Won't find a way in. Well, I can't ignore a certain face.